Hey guys, welcome back to the Steve Freeman Podcast, the place where we talk about music, business, and life, and most importantly, the pursuit of success in all three. I am your host, of course, Steve Freeman, hit songwriter, multi-platinum selling record producer, artist, developer, entrepreneur, basically an all-around nice guy. Anyway, guys. Thank you for being here. As most of you know, I am on vacation this week. Me and the family are out in Los Angeles, and we are having a good time. We're doing a lot of I've got some business I've got to take care of while I'm out there, but a lot of it is just vacation, downtime, and spending some time with the family, and it is much needed. Plus, I get to go out there and spend some time with my best friend, David Aldo. That's always a good time. Before we get into the podcast today, I want to remind you, if you're not following me on social media, please do. It's at the Steve Freeman everywhere on every social media platform, and do what hundreds of you guys have done in this last month, and it kind of blows me away. Now I feel all this pressure about writing great content, but join the revolution. It is my weekly free newsletter where we talk advice, tips, tricks, music business, entrepreneur stuff, how to be successful, a lot of stuff like that. It's absolutely free. The Revolution. You can sign up at thestevefreeman.com or the brand new The Steve Freeman Podcast.com. Also, as a side note, we have started a Facebook page just for the podcast. You can go to Facebook and just search the Steve Freeman Podcast. We've even created a private group within that page. If you want to leave comments, ask questions, you've got an idea for a show or a podcast you want me to do, or you want to know something more from me, also a good place just to have a sense of community, a place where you guys can talk with each other and you can talk with me, of course. So that's just go to Facebook. It's on Facebook. Search for the Steve Freeman Podcast. You'll find it there, and then you can submit the request to join the private group as well. Okay, so I have to be 100% honest with you guys. Since I am on vacation, I did not have a lot of time. I was producing a record last week, also had to travel around. My company was shooting some music videos for an artist. I didn't have a lot of time to sit down and film these the way that I wanted, but I found a version of an old live stream that I did almost a year ago. And it was called the 90-Day Success Strategy. And because of some of the emails that I've been getting from you guys here lately, I think that this message is so very important that I wanted to bring that back up and talk more about that, about work-life balance, finding success. But in order to be able to find that success, you have to have a strategy. And you have to be happy with yourself, because you can't make anything successful if you're not happy. You can't please other people until you please yourself. You've got to be in the right mental state. So what I want to do is go back and play you some excerpts from that live stream, and I hope you enjoy it. It's all about creating a 90-day success strategy for yourself, but more importantly, having that work-life balance and finding some inner peace. Kind of one of the things I'd put out on social media that I did want to talk to you guys about tonight was creating a 90-day success strategy for either yourself, your brand, your business, whether you're an artist, songwriter, producer, you own a small business, it doesn't really matter. It's kind of what we got into last week is, music is a product. It's no different than if you're selling t-shirts, if you're selling furniture, if you're selling anything else. So this is a really important time of the year right now. This next 6 weeks, this next 6-week period is a very crucial time if you're an entrepreneur, small business owner, which if you're a songwriter or you are, a producer or any of that, and you're not signed to a major label or you're not signed to a major publishing company, the same thing goes for you. This is an incredibly important time of the year. And we're going to talk more about this coming up. Time just passes so fast. And that's one of the things that leading me into what I want to talk to you guys about tonight. And of course, I want to take your questions, your comments. If you're watching on YouTube, Twitch, or Facebook, you can pop those things in the comment section and they'll pop up. I can see them, I can read them, and I can answer your questions. But I've been doing a lot of soul searching and personal in-depth study this last year, because something happens when you turn 40, and there's probably people listening and watching around the world that are older than that, and trust me, when I get to 50, I'm sure it'll be something else too, and 60 it'll be something else. But to me, there's something about turning 40 that starts some sort of a self-reflection. And it's, for me, it's personal and business, because they're one and the same. I have not had an employer in almost 20 years. And so it's all predicated on me and what I do and the decisions that I make. And something about turning 40 and then turning 41, really, it's like the time goes by a lot faster now, and you feel like time is in short supply. And the days seem to go a lot faster, the months seem to go a lot faster, and the years are just flying by. And so the last several months, I've been thinking, what do I want to do? Me and a friend of mine, David Aldo, out in Los Angeles, we talk about this a lot. And for those of you that are listening that are in my age group, those of you that are younger, listen to what I'm about to say and go ahead and start adapting these philosophies now. That way, maybe when you do turn 40, you don't feel this way. And maybe you'll be a little bit better prepared. But David and I we're talking about, we feel like we've got the next 10 to 15 years to set us up for the rest of our life. And honest to God, that's the truth. We've got to work really hard, accomplish everything that we want to accomplish sometime in the next 10 to 15 years, because, at 55, you're less relevant than you're ever going to be. And especially for me, David and I both are in the entertainment industry. There's not a lot of relevant 55, 60-year-olds and older that haven't been relevant for years and years and years and years. And so that struggle to stay creative, stay innovative, stay excited and passionate about what you're doing, but also know and feel that clock ticking in your mind, that you feel like you're running out of time. And so this past couple of years, I've really changed up how I operate my business with Freeman Creative Media. We work with clients all over the world. We've changed how we do business with Universal Artist and our artist development company and publishing company. We've changed how we work, and we've changed how we structure things. And I'm really excited about the direction that it's going. And I'm going to have a longer video that I'm going to put out on the YouTube channel that goes really in depth on this. And it's really going to be some interesting and cool information that we normally charge a lot of money when we work with a brand or a company or we're developing an artist. But I feel like it's information people need to be soaking in, and it's something you need to be thinking about and setting up. And that is getting your mindset right for the next 10 to 15 years. And that all starts with the next 90 days. And that's what I want to talk to you guys a little bit about tonight. Whether you're in the music business or you are selling t-shirts, you're selling furniture, or whatever it is that you're doing, I want you to think about this mindset. First off, let's take 90 days and set it over here for just a second. Take the next 6 weeks. I put something out on Instagram the other day, and it seemed to be received pretty well. And it's a philosophy that I've had, that I've put into action for, at least 5, 6, 7 years. And that is that from about Halloween, about October 31st through January 5th, what got me started in this is because I'm in the music business. So our business is pretty much dead from Halloween through January 5th. Nashville shuts down because the charts, the Billboard charts, media base, they start to freeze, right? They're not playing any new music, so artists aren't out there promoting their music. They're not out on the road. They're not on tour. Nobody's cutting records until, early part of next year. So our business dies, and it's basically dead. Well, for a long time, I just kind of operated the way that everybody else did, and I just took off. I didn't work. I didn't work from October till mid-January. And then I was literally sitting down one night and thinking about it, and I thought, wow, I've left a lot of time on the table. Yeah, it's good to rest. It's good to relax. It's good to focus on other things that you have other passions about. But if you're an entrepreneur, or you're an independent artist, or you're a small business owner, we don't have the luxury of taking breaks. We don't have the luxury of days off. When we take time off, we are killing our business. Absolute 100% killing our business. We're killing our momentum. And so about 5 years ago, I started to go and I started thinking about it this way. Okay, everybody else is taken off. Everybody else is on vacation or acting like this is a free 2 months. I started doing the opposite. I doubled down. And I started working harder from about Halloween till about January 15th. Because while everybody else is taking their break and they're using Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year as a reason to kind of slack off and not do anything, I sped up. I didn't just keep going, I sped up. And it's amazing what it did for my companies. It really is. Because everybody, it's almost like running a race where everybody else just stops halfway around the track and you're able to just keep going and lap everybody. It's been so helpful to me that I've implemented that strategy across all of my businesses in being very strategic about how we utilize November, December, and through January. I work for the previous 4 or 5 months getting ahead of myself so that when this time period does come, we have plenty of stuff that we need to concentrate on, plenty of content that needs to be created, and so that we're maximizing the time. While everybody else is sloughing off, we're putting our nose to the grindstone and we're getting busy. And so I want to encourage you guys, yeah, spend time with your family, spend time with your friends. It's a great time of the year. It's Christmas and all that. But if you aren't where you want to be professionally, personally, with your business, or anything else, think of this next 6 weeks to 8 weeks as your time to work exclusively on that and harder than everybody else is. I promise you that you will come the other side of that and you'll go, wow, I actually accomplished so much more because you're facing less resistance. And the key to growing a successful business is perseverance, consistency, persistence in that face of adversity and conflict. Well, if you remove any part of the conflict from that equation, your job's easier. So I encourage everybody to take the next 6 weeks, 8 weeks. Really sit down with yourself. Figure out what it is that you want to do, where you want to go. Where do you want to be this time next year? Use this next 8 weeks to focus on where you're going to be this time next year. Then when we get to mid-January, I want you to think about a 90-day strategy. So many people, and it's funny, I listen to a lot of people, and I was about to say I've read a lot of books. I don't read a lot. I listen to a lot of books, especially on business and from businessmen and businesswomen that I admire that have been extremely successful. One of the things that a lot of them talk about are goals. And I agree with having goals. My problem with goals is that most people set unobtainable goals. So you have shot yourself in the foot from the moment you made the goal. What I have done, and look, I'm not sitting here telling you, well, this is what you have to do. I'm just saying this is what I've done, and it's worked. And it's worked really well, and it's been extremely beneficial personally and financially and professionally. Because I used to do what everybody else does. I used to sit down and go, here's my yearly goals, New Year's resolutions, personal and professional. Here's what I want to do this year. And I started to realize that I'm putting the peak of that mountain out there just a little too high and a little too far. There are so many things that can go wrong within the span of a year to keep you from accomplishing those goals that it's not even funny. So I backed and scaled everything down to 90 days. I only set goals that I can really achieve. I don't set goals that I don't think are unachievable or unobtainable. And that's what I see so many of you guys do. When we start developing an artist or we're working with a new company or a new brand, I'm always just dumbfounded because the first thing I do in either situation is have them sit down and write what makes them happy. Physically on a piece of paper, what makes you happy? Then write another list of why you aren't happy and find out how to use both of those lists against each other to find out what your problem is. That is step number one. Find out where you want to be. Not where you want to be a year from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now. Where do you want to be in 90 days? Because that is much more achievable and it's much more attainable. But yet I sit and I listen to these artists and I see what they write down. And on conference calls, I hear what the heads of these companies are saying. And they're like, we want to increase our revenue by $67 million in the next 90 days. Okay, not going to happen. And then they get upset because you don't believe in it. Has nothing to do with belief or passion. It has to do with real world analytics. We throw that term analytics around because of social media and online marketing. But I'm talking real world analytics. It's just not possible that that's going to happen unless you are a company or you have a product that is about to innovate and completely do something that's never been done before. You're not going to see a $67 million increase in profits over the next 90 days. It's not going to happen. You're not Apple, right? You're not Microsoft. It's not going to happen. So when you think about this and you think about your 90 days, think about things that you can do on a daily basis that lead you to a short-term goal achievable. And that is possible in 90 days. It also helps keep you on a little bit tighter leash. And so you're not thinking to yourself, well, I mean, I've set this goal. Here's where I want to be next November. I've got time. No, you don't. You don't have time. One of the things that I absolutely love, and I hear Gary Vee say it all the time, and that is if you are an entrepreneur, I'm going to expand this too because most of you come in from the music world. But Gary says that if you are an entrepreneur in this day and time, in this age, in this specific time right now, and you aren't being successful, you're a moron. And he's right. There has never been more abundance in the history of the world than right now. And that abundance is being made by independent people. Yeah, sure, the big companies are making tons of money. Absolutely. But the marketplace has grown so much that is spilling over in leaps and bounds to small business owners, entrepreneurs, independent artists. I told an artist yesterday this very same thing. And I'm going to put this out there for everybody. And I'm going to put it in music terms. If you are an independent artist or you are a songwriter or a producer or an engineer or somehow a publisher, manager, booking agent, whatever it is you may be in the music business, if you are any of those things and you are not succeeding right now, it's not because you're not a good songwriter. It's not because you're not a good artist. It's not because you're not a good manager. It's because you're a bad business person. Okay? I'm going to say that again. If you are an independent artist, songwriter, producer, whatever, I don't care, and open that up. I don't care what you are. I don't care, if you're doing this next, whatever these miracle pills are you're selling, these damn pyramid schemes. If you have an independent mind and an entrepreneurial spirit, no matter what it is that you're involved with, if you are not successful right now, it's not because you're not good at what you're doing. It's because, or it's a bad idea. It's because you're a bad business person. Now, you can either take that and hear it and you can be offended and you can get upset and think, how dare Steve say that? But it's the truth. If you are not succeeding financially right now, you are a bad business person. It's not hard in the time that we live in right now. Now, a lot of people say, well, Steve, I don't know a lot about business. Learn. There are roadmaps out there. And I'm not talking about taking some Zig Ziglar, course. I'm not talking about all that. I'm not talking about paying somebody to teach you how to do something. I'm talking about bootstraps, pull them up, put your big boy panties on, and learn how to do something. I get it. I laugh hysterically. Well, actually, I kind of laugh and it depresses me at the same time, if I'm just being real honest. Those of you in the music business, so many of you spend your time and your effort and your energy trying to get noticed. God, if I could just get on American Idol or win this. If you need to eliminate if and when from your vocabulary, number one, absolutely get rid of them. But you sit around and you try so hard to get noticed on social media, and you try so hard to get noticed with your songs and your stage show and the live stuff, and you're trying out, we need to get a major label, we need all that. Meanwhile, there are artists out there that are selling thousands and thousands and hundreds of thousands of records, having millions of streams, bringing in revenue, while you're sitting around waiting when or if something happens. And I'll say it again. It's not because you're not a good artist or a good songwriter. It's because you're a horrible fucking business person. Period. We talked about this a little bit last week, but for those of you in the music business, music is the product, right? It's not special. It's not about the creation. The reason that most of you guys try and fail is because you are concentrating on the creation and not on the business side. You think that the greater the creation, the more successful it's going to be, just like it's out of some ether somewhere. Like, it's almost like Field of Dreams. If you build it, they will come. No, they won't. That only works for Kevin Costner and James Earl Jones, okay? If you want to build it and you want people to come, you've got to put up billboards, you've got to run Facebook ads, you've got to run Instagram story ads, you've got to be on Snapchat, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, everywhere. And you've got to be consistent and persistent with the message to bring people in yourself. Imagine for a second, those of you that are independent artists out there right now, all 15,000 of you Kelsey Ballerini, Carrie Underwood, Luke Bryan, Jason Aldean wannabes. Imagine if you took 10% of the energy that you put into trying to get a major label to see you, or trying to get a booking agent, or trying to get a manager. Imagine if you took 10% of the effort that you put into that and actually focused on the business side of the music business. Think about where you would be. Think about it just for a second. But see, that's not as fun and that's not as glamorous, right? Spending an hour or 2 hours creating a piece of content and then spending the next 8 to 10 hours figuring out a marketing strategy to get eyeballs that actually give a shit on that piece of content is not as fun as being in front of the camera, or being in the studio, or doing a vocal, or trying to get your buddy to get you on that CMT red carpet for the video award show. You put too much focus and energy. into that. The business side of the music business is no fun, but it is 100% of what matters. Do you know how many great songs are sitting in drawers around Nashville right now? There are better songs sitting in drawers and on people's computers in MP3 files than music that has been put out since the beginning of time. I can promise you that. So if you're sitting around and you're thinking that you just haven't gotten the right opportunity or you haven't written the right song, if you haven't gotten the opportunity, that's on you. Because it's an open marketplace. The internet is here and it has won. It won. Stop trying to fight it. If you're older, I get this one all the time too. I actually got an email a few weeks back and it's so funny because I know how Nashville works. And so I'm used to seeing this, this ageism thing. Steve, how old is too old for you to work with somebody? Well, I mean, this side of depends is what I would say. I mean, if you don't have to get up and go to the bathroom more than twice in the middle of the night, I can help. So I don't even buy into this whole thing that you've got to be 16 years old or 17 years old. None of that matters because the marketplace is completely open. Something else that you need to start thinking about is a lot of us as creatives, we sit around and we focus our time, even when it is time to focus on that creation. We focus on creating content and writing songs and producing music that we like. Well, newsflash. There are far more people out there that like what you don't than like what you do. So maybe think about expanding your boundaries just a little bit and going, okay, what are people interested in? And maybe try that. Or put the hard work into being you and doing you and going out and understanding the business side of the business and actually going and identifying and finding your fan base because it's out there. But you've got to go find them. Forget this thing of I'm going to get a major label deal and they're going to go find them for me. It's not going to happen that way. So I encourage you guys to think about that. Package all of that up into the next 90 days and come up with a plan that you can hold yourself accountable to for the next 90 days. What do you want? What is possible for you to accomplish in the next 90 days? Guys, if you're watching on Twitch, welcome in. If you're watching on Facebook, we welcome you as well. And then we're also live on YouTube. Want to remind you, the podcast is also available. Every weekly episode will be available on iTunes the following Friday morning or the following morning. So like tomorrow, this episode will be available at 9 a.m. tomorrow morning on iTunes. But that's what I want to do. I want you guys to think about a 90-day strategy. And I know a lot of you need help. And it takes money to make things happen. But there are a lot of things that you can do, that you can focus on, that you can put your time. Time is the most valuable asset that you have. And the ability to acquire knowledge. I was joking around with Jacob Young. He came on the show last week to talk about his movie that premiered last Friday night on Lifetime. Great movie, said it, watched it, loved it. But he and I were talking about, this sort of thing. And it's just amazing to me how people don't want... I crave knowledge. I honestly do. I absolutely crave knowledge. So I like to learn about everything, especially things I'm interested in, but I also like to learn about things that I don't know in case something ever comes up and I do need that. I've got it. It's right there in the back pocket. So, learn. YouTube is like the dictionary. If you want to know how to do something, it's on there. But Jacob and I were joking around that it's funny that all of this kind of stuff, you know, being in the music business and being as fortunate as I've been, I know my way around a recording studio. I can do anything in there I need to do. If I need to engineer, I'm not an engineer, but if I need to set up a session, I can set up a session. I can run Pro Tools. I can do everything that I need to do. Now, when I'm the producer and I'm producing a project, it kind of takes my focus away, but I can do it. I know what mic pre I want paired with what microphone. I know all of that. But when we started all of this and we started the streaming and we started all, I knew nothing about the gear and the equipment and all. I knew nothing. So I got on YouTube and spent hours and hours and hours and hours researching how to do this and how to make it look great and how to make it look better than everybody else. And so I had a fundamental understanding of what it was that I was doing. It's no different in any other area of business that you may be in whatsoever. The answers are out there. If you have questions, the answers are out there for you. Maybe that's your next 90 days. Maybe you don't know enough about what you think you know. And maybe you need to go acquire that information. Maybe that's your next 90 days. But I encourage all of you to think about it in those terms. Don't set unobtainable goals for yourself. Set immediate time limits within the next 90 days and hold yourself to it. Write it down. You know, we in this day and age of the cell. I mean, I've got 4 cell phones up here. It's absolutely, and I've got different stuff on all of them. And we've got notes on Apple, and we've got whatever it is on the Samsung device, and we type things in there, and we just forget what we type. We forget we even put them in there. I've gone to this old school thing of legal pads and writing things down. Writing things down helps you absorb it and helps it sink into your memory. Write these things down, hold yourself accountable to them. I promise you that if you start doing that, you will see the product of the result. I promise you it'll happen. Every time that my company starts working with another business, or every time we start developing an artist, we do everything on 90-day terms. 90 days. One of the most important reasons that we do that is because that tells us if what we're doing is working or not. 90 days is a long enough time to know whether what you're doing is either working or it's not working, and then you can course correct. Because that's where so many other people go wrong. They made a goal, that's great. They wrote it down, that's great. They're sticking to it and they're working hard towards it, that's great too, but they don't ever have the time to realize until it's way too late that they've done the wrong thing. In 90 days, you know if something's working or not. If it's working, you do more of what you're doing, and you add 2 or 3 other things to it. If it's not working, then you back up and reevaluate why it's not working, why you're not hitting your core audience. Why is it not performing the way that you thought that it would? That way, the next 90 days, you do something different. You correct your mistakes and you move on. And although it may not seem like it, that 90 days before is that you were going in the wrong direction is actually very valuable. That's where the lessons are learned. Every successful person you can point to in history failed first. Fail often because it helps. It shows you what you did wrong so that you don't ever do it again. But that's the way that I do things. I like to do things in 90-day increments because it's a much shorter goal. It's much easier to hold yourself accountable to. Plus, let's face it, as creatives, we have a tendency to like to see immediate results. We like things. We like the fact that when we put a dollar bill in a Coke machine, we just hit a button and the Coke comes out. We don't like, okay, what if you had to put the dollar in today, but the Coke didn't come out till Friday? We don't like that. We like to see the fruits of our labor. We like to see things happening. So being on a 90-day schedule does that for you too. It really lets you see where you are and how far you've come. And to throw the word around again, analytics, it allows you to see that too. It allows you to see what's working, what's not working. And like I said, I'm going to put a video together for the YouTube channel that goes into kind of my process and what some of the things and marks that I try to hit and go into really detail on this 90-day. I call it the 90 days to success plan. Because the other thing I think about this is when you take things out of a 5-year window or 3-year window, 2-year, even 1-year window, is you start to really realize and appreciate the journey, but also you value the small victories. And I tell that to artists all the time. And it's like, I know that I sound like a broken record because I tell them constantly. Everybody wants things to move fast. Everybody wants things to happen very fast. They don't, number one. Especially in the music business, nothing happens fast. Nothing whatsoever. Even if somebody did offer you a major label record deal, it'd be 8 months before you sign the contract. Minimum. Absolute minimum, probably even a year. So nothing happens fast. And when we live that way, we forget to kind of relish in and enjoy and appreciate small victories. And when you back things down and your goal is to accomplish A, B, C, and D over the next 90 days, it may be very small things. A through D may be very small and insignificant in the broader scheme, in the big picture. But 90 days later, when you're on the other side and you're looking back and you realize that you did actually accomplish A, B, C, and D, that's a small victory. And we don't appreciate small victories enough. I'll tell you from the music business side of things, I've been doing this almost 20 years. I've written over, oh my God, at least 10,000 songs. Only 7 have made it to number 1. 7. Maybe another 20, 25 top 20s. Maybe another 50. So out of 10, 12, 15,000 songs, I have made all of my success on less than 50 to 100 of them. Records, same thing. I've produced probably 300 records in the last 20 years. 12 of them have gone platinum. 14 of them have gone, or well, 3 more have gone double platinum or beyond. Out of so many. The big victories don't happen very often. They don't happen very often at all. So unless we can learn to appreciate the small victories, we're going to be going long periods of time feeling like we're not accomplishing anything. And I think that's where the depression comes in. That's why I have yet to meet a creative person in my world, producers and songwriters and artists. I have yet to meet one that doesn't battle depression. And depression is serious. But I think that we fall into that because we have our eyes on such a huge goal and accomplishing, and we've written out in our mind this perfect picture of what we call success, and we spend the rest of our time, effort, and energy trying to achieve that picture that we set in our head. Meanwhile, we don't appreciate each little step that it takes to get there. And so when we don't have these major victories all the time, or when every song that you write is cut by a major label artist and put out as a single and goes number 1, or every album that you produce doesn't sell 1 million copies, or every time you're not accomplishing and it doesn't rise to that level of success that you've put in your head, then we get depressed because we've sold ourselves this bill of goods that says unless it meets that picture in our head that it's not really success. And that's the biggest lie that we've told ourselves. We literally made it, we cooked it, we baked it, we took it out and we fed it to ourselves. So it's our fault. But we can stop that. And I've noticed a huge difference. Stacy was just saying something to me the other day that I have been different this last year. And I owe that, honestly, to broadening my horizons and getting involved in other things that interest me and not just focusing so much on writing songs and producing records. Like even this year, up to this year, I was writing at least once a day, 5 days a week. And I hated it. I was burning out and I didn't want to do it anymore. Now, this year, I went to a thing of I only write when I want to write, or I'll write for a specific thing. If I'm doing something for a TV show or a movie or something like that, I'll do it per project. And when I want to write, I'll write. And I write with who I want to write with. Publishing company doesn't set my schedule anymore. I set my schedule. I do what I want when I want. Has that cost me some money financially? Absolutely. But I'm happier right now than I was a year ago. And to bring it full circle, turning 40, 41, and about to hit 42, I'm starting to realize that that picture that I had placed in my head, that I had made and fed to myself, was not really what was going to make me happy. And I'm starting to explore and do things and take a more hands-on approach in my companies that I care about, but I had become a little more hands-off, and I'd forgotten why I even wanted to do them in the first place. And now I'm in that process of rediscovering how much I enjoy things. I enjoy my friends more. I enjoy my time more. I enjoy my family more. They, in turn, are giving me the time. We were at dinner. We were at dinner last week. And my wife said, we just, all three of us, meaning my wife and my two daughters, she said, we've just noticed a difference in you over the last, year. And, what do you, we just want to, number one, we appreciate it, because when I get focused on something, it's everything else be damned. And that's family, friends, everything. It's like a horse with blinders on. I'm going in one direction, full speed, and I don't have time for anything else. I don't have time for the BS. Well, that can, a lot of people feel left out in that, and a lot of people get hurt by that. And I'm the first one to admit it, and I know that. But she said, you've been different this year, and we just want to thank you. You've been more attentive to us and paying attention and seeming like you're here, because that was always the thing, is you're here, but you're not really here. And I wasn't. And I can admit that. And she said, why do you think that is? And I said, well, honestly, I think I'm better and more responsive and attentive to you guys because you guys are allowing me to do what it is that I feel like I need to do. And you're allowing me the time without giving me a hard time when I do them. And it all goes in and plays in, guys, to being happy. If you aren't happy, it's your fault. Like I said earlier, take a pen and a piece of paper. Forget notes on your iPhone. Take a piece of paper and write down the things that would make you happy. Real things, not driving a Maserati. It doesn't make you happy, I promise. For like 10 minutes, and then it's on to the next thing. I'm talking real world things. When you think about your life, sure, they can be professional things and accomplishments and things like that. But write down what it is that makes you happy. Then write another list of what it's going to take to achieve those things. Then make a list of all of the things that you're not doing that you could be doing to get you to that place. And I promise you, if you use those three lists against each other, and listen here, when you make that list, because your brain works funny, right? Your brain is going to automatically pop into your head the most important and relevant things to you. So write those things down. And what's funny is your brain will take over and you'll start putting those things down. A very key part of this being successful for you is whatever the things are that you think make you happy that don't make it on that list, eliminate them from your life completely. That can be physical things. That can be people. It can be situations. It can be anything. I've cut a lot of people out of my life because I just realized they didn't make me happy. And there wasn't anything there was no give in that relationship. Life is too short to invest in things and people that don't pay a return. And if that's where you find yourself, identify right now what those things are. Take the next 90 days, evaluate yourself, find out what those things are, and eliminate them from your life. It's hard to do sometimes, but it's worth it. It's worth doing. Because I want each and every single one of you to achieve happiness as you define it, and success as you define it. And I'll throw it in there because I always do. We're not confusing, for those of you in the music business or entertainment business, we're not confusing success with fame. It's possible to achieve success without fame, and it's also possible to achieve fame without success. So find out what makes you happy and chase it down. Write it down. If it doesn't make the list, eliminate it from your life. Take the next 90 days. Enjoy your friends, enjoy your family, enjoy the holidays, but be mindful and be thinking that this is the year I'm going to change my life. This is the year I'm going to work on me, and I'm going to work on my happiness. Because those of you with family, whether you're married or you've got kids or you've got a loved one or whatever it is, you can't be the person they need you to be until you're happy with yourself. Period. If I'm not happy, I can't be responsible for the happiness and well-being of anybody else. It starts right here. It starts with you. Get yourself in a good place, and then you'll be in a good place for everybody else. Guys, I really hope you enjoyed that and going back and bringing something from the past. I think the message is so important. We all want to be successful. We all want to do big things. But if we don't have the strategy, if we don't have the inner peace, and we don't have the right mindset, it's going to be almost basically impossible for us to accomplish our goals and our dreams. So set a strategy for yourself. Get in the right mindset, put the work in, and I promise you, you'll start to see those results. If you're not following me on social media, you're going to miss out on everything that's going on in LA this week. So follow me on social media at the Steve Freeman. We've got a brand new Facebook page. Go to Facebook and then search the Steve Freeman Podcast. You'll find it there. Join our private group. Join the discussion. That's always a good thing. Plus, join and subscribe to The Revolution, free weekly newsletter, tips, tricks, advice, about the same things we talk about here on the podcast, but I can go even a little bit deeper. Guys, if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, or you're watching on YouTube, or you're listening on Stitcher or radio.com or iHeartRadio, please subscribe to the podcast, and more importantly, leave a review. If you love what we're doing here, there's a lot of you out there. We need more reviews on iTunes. We are quickly moving up the rankings of the new and noteworthy, and I really want to make it to the top. And I know you guys can help me get there. So please leave a review on Apple Podcast, iTunes, and give us those 5 stars. Guys, as always, as we wrap up, keep being creative. Keep pushing the boundaries. And there's nothing wrong with being independent. See you in the next one.